some of the pros of synthesized speech. One is speed. We can process that file very, very quickly as opposed to having a human in a sound editing booth going through and possibly needing multiple takes to get the recording properly done. Cost, certainly, it's machine only. So we're able to drive costs down. We don't need voice talent and we don't have to pay extra for that. We can manipulate the speed quite easily. So if you actually will have the choice. Do you want something that's especially fast? Do you want to slow it down? You'll be able to choose for every file what speed you want. And we can adjust that without having any kind of distortion like you might have if you're trying to adjust after a recording has already taken place. Flexibility is a really big deal. So we can actually provide a little bit more flexibility in some of the toolkit we're offering around description. One that I'm actually pretty excited to show you is this idea that you could actually edit the finished described file and then generate a new audio file. So that's something that's very new. It used to be that if you were to go through the description process, create your audio file, and you wanted to make changes for any reason, you'd probably have to pay to have that portion redone, revoiced, and things like that. But because we're using more technology on this part of the process, we can actually reprocess things very quickly and give you more flexibility. And finally, familiarity. For those of us who are used to seeing and not having to rely on these types of tools, whether it be screen readers or audio description, it sounds odd to use a synthesized voice. But the reality is, in today's world with screen readers on desktops and mobile phones, blind and low vision users are actually quite used to screen reader voices, which are much faster quite often and mechanized. And not to say that synthesized speech is the perfect answer. There are definitely some cons. The reality is that it does sound a bit more like a machine than a human voice because it's a machine. There's nothing we can do about that. There are definitely some limitations around tone. So if you have an action film, you're clearly going to want that to sound different, or at least the description to sound a bit different than a very serious documentary. It wouldn't be appropriate to have the exact same voice all the time. So that's one thing that we certainly lose with the description. Although at the same time, there are some things we're able to do to get a little bit closer. So there are ways that we can have things where we can instruct the machine to sound concerned or sound happy. So we'll be able to do a little bit of that. That's something that we're working on right now. And then pronunciation. There may be some issues with synthesized speech, whether it be acronyms or words that could be pronounced multiple ways. That's something that we're working on as well. It is a challenge, but that's something that is very real in a synthesized approach, and certainly something that pops up with screen readers as well.